2-year-olds do not need a skincare regimen, let alone a sheet mask. There's so much I think that could be unpacked that I think is really wrong with that message. And no 10-year-old needs a 10-step regimen. No 10-year-old needs a retinol, guys. We all know that at 10 to 15, you have the most collagen you are ever going to have. And so our goal is to nourish and protect.
Maybe I'm old fashioned, but I worry a lot about younger people who are really thinking that they need to correct something about their skin when there's nothing going on.
So like you mean on a psychological level?
The psychological level.
This is Skin Talks, the podcast where we go deeper than skin, products, and trends and explore the conversations that actually matter in health, beauty, wellness, and confidence.
We're a mother-daughter duo and the founders of Boutique Skin Envie. After years inside the industry, we've learned that health is never just about what you use. It's about everything you digest, how you think, how you live, what you eat, how you move, what you put on your skin, and how you feel in your own body.
If you're looking for insight, honesty, and a fresh perspective on the future of health, beauty, and wellness, you're in the right place.
Let's get into it.
Skin Talks podcast by Boutique Skin Envie, hosted by Beata and Natasha.
Kids today are more exposed to skincare than ever before. They're watching routines on TikTok and Instagram, buying products, using ingredients designed for adults, and many parents don't know what's safe and what's not. So where's the line? Today, we're talking about pediatric skin, what kids and teens actually need, what they should avoid, and how early skincare habits can impact long-term skin health. Welcome to Skin Talks, Dr. Sheila McGinnis.
Dr. McGinnis, for listeners who may not know your background, can you briefly share your journey into pediatric dermatology?
Absolutely. And thanks for having me today. Growing up, I always knew I wanted to work with children somehow. I was a camp counselor for every summer coming home from college. And then when I was accepted into medical school, I really tried to keep an open mind, but pediatrics was still at the top of mind. I was also really drawn to dermatology and that pattern recognition and all of the skin conditions that you can really have a dramatic impact on someone's quality of life, their sense of self, their self esteem. So when I realized there was an intersection between pediatrics and dermatology, I was all in. And so spent time finding mentors and basically pursuing a board certification in pediatric dermatology. And for listeners who don't realize that pediatric dermatology is a subspecialty of dermatology, so you go through medical school, then you do a full dermatology residency, then you do extra training to really understand how skin diseases show up in children and how to keep them comfortable during procedures and all the rest of the things that come with that specialty training, how to use lasers to treat different birthmarks. It's a really exciting and fun field, but it's a small one.
It's a small one. That's what I wanted to ask you. So there's not a lot of you that are practicing this type of dermatology.
There aren't. Actually, there are only 400 around board certified pediatric dermatologists across the US and Canada.
Wow.
That's insane.
Mhm.
It's
Crazy.
wild.
Yeah.
It's wild.
I want to know.
So it's small and underserved.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, we're going to
definitely.
learn all about it today.
Yeah,
I love
I'm
that.
excited. You said that you focus on children and teens. Like, at what age does it really start at? Is it like, are you talking about babies as well, or is it to start after a certain age?
Right from birth,
Okay.
even a lot of my clinic are new moms showing up with children who may have a birthmark or skin conditions like atopic dermatitis or eczema. That's really common in my clinic. But any skin disease that shows up in adults can show up in children and it may look different. And that's where that extra training really comes in handy.
Mm. So when you talk about dermatitis on babies, is that caused by the soaps that we use, or is there something that you find that is causing this kind of thing?
It can be. So, atopic dermatitis or eczema, for those two words are pretty much used interchangeably. What people understand to be eczema on the skin is something called atopic dermatitis. And it shows up in infancy, usually around 2 or 3 months of age. It is sometimes made worse by products that are used, but in general, now we understand eczema is caused by a structural skin barrier defect, and it tends to run in families. So you might
Okay.
know someone who has, dry sensitive skin prone to eczema, and their baby has eczema,
Okay.
and they often show up with red, itchy patches on the face or the arms, body, anywhere, and it can be really impactful to the infant. They can be more prone to infection, sleep disturbance. They're really itchy, and luckily, we're living in a day and age where we have excellent treatments. So,
Okay.
if
That's
your
so
child struggles with eczema, you should find a pediatric dermatologist.
okay. I love that.
Out of all the 400. That's
Yeah.
crazy. So I guess I want to ask something actually completely personal before we get into this. My baby's 3 months old and he has dry skin. Am I like, do I just let that be? Or am I supposed to put something on top of like totally taking this episode to my
No, I
selfishness?
mean, let's talk a little bit about newborn skincare. So
Yeah.
there used to be all these myths around how to bathe your baby, how frequently to bathe your
Mm.
baby, what to bathe your baby with, and I think a lot of new moms still struggle with knowing what to do when they have a newborn. And actually, for babies with dry, sensitive skin, most pediatric dermatologists will recommend that they be bathed and moisturized daily to every other day. So, no, you really shouldn't let it be because when you touch a newborn, that skin feels so plump and moist and
Perfect.
beautiful, right?
Yeah.
And if your baby has dry, sensitive skin prone to eczema, well, addressing that and making sure that we're taking appropriate measures to really help them lock in moisture, which has a direct impact on the water loss at the surface of the skin and the pH balance of the skin. That's really important. So, daily to every other day bathing, keeping things really, really gentle with a gentle soap. Um, Preferably fragrance free, free of essential oils, free of excessive botanical extracts. You really want to keep things gentle. You don't want to over suds, over foam, and then take your child out and not moisturize because you've just stripped everything down and not protected that skin barrier. So, skin barrier support for newborns is really important. And there are some studies actually that show that if you do a good job with that soak and seal and skin barrier repair, you may prevent the signs and symptoms of eczema or atopic dermatitis by 6 months of age.
Amazing.
Okay, so fun to know. And I mean, I find it always shifts because I know when I'm obviously we're mother daughter, and when Natasha was born, I lived in Germany, and they were very much not about washing your baby too often. In Europe, I had her when I was living in Germany, and I mean, I followed that, but then there's like another school of thought where my brother and sister-in-law washed their baby every single day in a bath with soap and didn't put any moisturizer on afterwards. So like everybody has this interesting journey and they follow what is like popular at the time.
Well, I just gave birth 3 months ago, and I gave birth a
Birthing
birthing center,
center.
and they said like
Mhm.
one of the things that they don't do is they don't wash the baby after. Like they keep the vernix on, let it like soak into the skin,
Yes,
and then they don't
true.
recommend to wash the baby before. It was like before 3 or 4 days. That's what they said. I ended up just giving him a bath with no soap. I think it was like
Just rinse.
7 or 8 days after birth. Like I really waited. I think I only started. Yeah, exactly. I think I only started incorporating soap as of like it must have been like 2 months. Before that, I was
Yeah.
just water. I was really nervous because I wanted to make sure I was using the right soap, something that's very good. Like I was giving myself like looking at all the ingredients of what's out there because there's just some stuff that's like really not great. But yeah, I think it's different and I know that like I know specifically for hospitals, it's a little bit different than it is at birthing centers.
And I guess it depends where you are in the world
Yeah, like
too.
I've heard from like places obviously in Montreal, it's like they wash the baby right away as soon as the baby comes out.
There is some data about leaving the vernix in place, and I
Yeah.
think that's completely reasonable to do. It is safe to bathe your baby, the first or second day of life, and a lot of people tend to like to wait until the umbilical stump has
Oh
fallen
yeah.
off. That's
Yeah.
another recommendation. I think the data around bathing frequency is really interesting because, of course, as you guys are just alluding to, there's so many different, cultural reasons
Yes.
about bathing and different traditions and just what works for your family. But when that you look at actual clinical studies on frequency of bathing, it is quite helpful to bathe and moisturize regularly as a measure to prevent dry, sensitive skin prone to eczema.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, he's making his debut here today.
I love this.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we're having a podcast with 3 today.
I know,
Yeah.
I love
It's
it.
a perfect conversation too because it's about kids. So
Yeah. And there is so much around this subject today, and especially because of social media. I know you're very prominent on TikTok and Instagram as well, you were saying?
I did create a social media presence around the pandemic when I realized that there were many, many doctors and dermatologists doing a great job sharing evidence-based information and getting a lot of engagement. And I thought that was such a great way, as we just mentioned, with 400 pediatric dermatologists in the country, we need ways to reach families, parents, caregivers
Yeah,
that really kind of meet people where they are. And
yeah,
where everyone is right now is on social media or listening to
yeah.
podcasts, etc.
exactly. Yeah.
And getting the best information into the hands of the most people has always been my goal with being sort of a creator of educational content.
Yeah, I think it's really
Yeah, it
important.
is. Very, very
Yeah, I
much
think it's
so.
really important, and that's why we do what we do. So we love that.
Thank you.
I
Yeah.
wanted to get into, we discussed babies, but really talking about kids and skincare because we see this. I mean, I see it. I don't know if it's everybody or if it's just within my algorithm, but I feel that there's this massive surge of information and trends and awareness and conversations around kids starting skincare routines at a very young age. Is that something that you're seeing?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So you've hit the nail on the head. I mean, it's the so-called Sephora kids trend,
Yeah.
and it really, I would say, has proliferated over the past 3 to 4 years. And it's a reflection of the rise of smartphones and then more more kids on social media because we do know that they're using screens.
Yeah.
Teens and tweens are using screens upwards of 5 hours a day in some, data that you look at, and a portion of that is time spent on social media. And if you just look at Gen Alpha, those born after 2010 as a group of people, there are 2 billion members of Gen Alpha. It's currently the largest generation. And so we have this complete confluence of factors where we have all these smartphones, we have kids spending time on social media, we have a huge, very large generation that are digitally fluent in this so called selfie age, where they're seeing people online, with all of these, influencers on social media, but they're not the only ones taking note. It's businesses. Businesses are aware of this, skincare companies, branding, marketing, because they're able now to directly target tweens and teens
I
through
know.
digital marketing on social media. So, this confluence of factors has really, I think, been the rise of this increased content that's being made and consumed by teens and tweens on social media. So, they are looking at people with get ready with me videos. They are wanting to become influencers themselves, but they're just overall consuming a massive amount of content related to skincare, health, wellness, beauty.
Hmm. And also anti-aging, which is something that I really have trouble with. I have trouble swallowing it because I don't think that a teen or a tween should have that even like in their radar.
Yeah, no.
Even though everything we do in our life by diet, sleep, exercise, our hygiene habits and stuff like that are all in of themselves anti-aging, but it shouldn't be, I don't think.
They shouldn't be exposed
Maybe
to the
I'm old
word.
fashioned, but I don't think it should be a conversation for somebody who's 15 years
I
old.
mean,
I
I
just
never,
don't.
when I was definitely in skincare and I had a very good routine when I was starting at 11. I never really,
Wasn't about
it
anti-aging.
wasn't about anti-aging at all. Like that was not a keyword that I was
It wasn't
exposed
part of
to.
our vocabulary, but it is today. Is that so? In your clinic, are you seeing a lot of this right now? Do you have like parents coming in with their kids? Are you hearing a lot about these types of things, or kids asking for things that really are not relevant for their age?
They definitely are. When I have a child come in who's a tween or teen and they bring in a huge bag of skincare,
Mm.
but yet their skin barrier is completely disrupted. They're red, rashy, they've really
Oh
overdone it.
God.
I'm talking to the family, we're looking at all these products, and we're having a good, real conversation about what does it mean to develop a great healthy hygiene habit early, and what does that look like, and how can we reinforce that without being influenced by all of these really complicated, expensive 10-step, not age appropriate regimens that are just so widespread online. This has been studied. So there was a great paper out of Northwestern last year that looked at TikTok skincare videos. And what they saw was that these videos that had millions of likes showed tweens and teens um, in the middle of really complicated skincare regimens with an average of 6 products, a total cost of like $180 on average. That was just the middle. It went way up from there, and only a quarter of those influencers and videos documented using sunscreen. So
I
we can
know.
see
I've seen it
where there
myself.
are huge gaps. And we know that this is because we've effectively blurred the line here between entertainment and marketing, and our kids are not savvy enough to spot the difference. And that's where we, as doctors, pediatricians, parents, and caregivers, can use it as an opportunity to step in and start that education piece about whoa, whoa, whoa. You don't need a fridge to keep all your skincare. You need to learn the basics of what it means to have healthy skin. And no 10-year-old needs a 10-step regimen. No 10-year-old needs a retinol, guys. We all know that at 10 to 15, you have the most collagen you are ever going to have. And so our goal is to nourish and protect. So when I'm paring down that big bag of skincare for parents, I'm saying, okay, here's the basics. If you're interested and curious about your skin, supporting a healthy habit right from the get go, which is a great thing on the surface, you need to be remembering to be gentle. You need a cleanser, you need to moisturize, and you need to protect.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. We talked
So
to a
I had
dermatologist in Toronto and he said exactly the same thing. And of that, the most important thing is the SPF,
I agree.
right? Yeah. Yeah. So interesting. But also there's when you have a teenager coming in, their skin is still like very, very young and youthful. If you start applying retinols or lots of multi-layered acids like salicylic acid, glycolic acid, azelaic acid, all of these things at such an early age, does it have long-term possible repercussions of, causing unnecessary inflammation at a young age? And I mean, the body has a really remarkable way to restore itself and to heal itself, but it have long-term effects to somebody who's introduced too many actives too soon?
I would say yes. Probably the biggest concern is mostly short term because what we're seeing with early use, so children's skin is not the same as adult skin. It's thinner, it's more permeable. It's not as good at keeping out irritants, allergens, microbes, etc. yet. And it's in that stage of development where everything can be changing all at once in the teen years. So, ingredients like you mentioned, retinol, harsh acids, AHA, BHA, glycolic acid, scrubs with seeds, etc. All of those things can really disrupt a developing skin barrier, and it's going to happen more quickly and more severely than it would in adult skin that's thicker and less prone to irritation. So, what we're seeing are the immediate effects of irritant dermatitis. We're seeing periorificial dermatitis when people are using too many products and then they may get like a breakout around the mouth and around the
Yeah.
eyes of little pink bumps. We are seeing if irritant and allergic contact dermatitis does occur, well, first of all, allergic contact dermatitis is a lifelong problem.
Yeah.
Parents need to understand that when we are repeatedly exposing young skin to allergens like fragrance, essential oils, some of the preservatives that are in skincare, once their child develops an allergy to one of those ingredients, that is lifelong.
Yeah.
That is a lifelong allergen that they will have to avoid that particular ingredient for the rest of their lives and ingredients that cross react with that ingredient.
Yeah,
So this is not a joke,
it's
right?
not a
We
joke.
really want to be keeping things simple and appropriate. But I have seen children do so much skin barrier damage that they end up with hyperpigmentation, right? Because when the
Wow.
skin's inflamed and it heals, it may not heal with the same color, and there can be pigment dropout into the dermis, and that can last for a long time,
Yeah, the
even many
PIH,
years.
right?
Yeah,
Post-inflammatory
Wow, that's crazy.
hyperpigmentation.
post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. So I'm seeing that at the very worst. What if they got a severe allergic contact dermatitis and blistering, or, something that could cause a scar? That would be less common, but can happen.
Yeah.
And we need to focus on things that are healthy and supportive to the skin barrier, and not breaking it down, causing irritation and compromise. Because once you thin out your skin barrier and you make it even more irritated, it's not as good at keeping out microbes. So then all of a sudden, we've got periorificial dermatitis, we've got a staph infection. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Yeah, it's dangerous. It's dangerous. Maria Nilla, color care with a conscience. We fell in love with Maria Nilla because it proves you don't have to compromise between performance and purpose. This Swedish salon quality hair care line is 100% vegan, cruelty free, and climate compensated, yet delivers real professional results. Every formula is crafted to protect color, nourish the scalp, and strengthen the hair, all while honoring the planet. It's conscious luxury that works as beautifully as it feels. Discover Maria Nilla at bskinenvie.ca. That's BSKINENVIE.ca, and use Skin Talks 15 for 15% off your first order. Now we know, like, introducing actives and too much being
unnecessary.
very unnecessary. But I also worry about, and again, maybe I'm old fashioned, but I worry a lot about younger people who are really thinking that they need to correct something about their skin when there's nothing going on.
So, like, you mean on a psychological level?
The psychological level, like that carries forward into your already life is not easy growing up. And when you carry that burden of feeling that you need to correct your skin at 12 and you have nothing wrong with
No.
your skin, I mean, what is that? What kind of example
it's
is that
detrimental.
setting for women, young teenagers, women growing older? It's like the roots for insecurity. It's the roots for feeling like we're not good enough, or that, the way we look is not perfect. It really troubles me on
Yeah.
many different layers as a parent, but also just as a human being, on the long-term effects psychologically on women. And the same for men and boys. I mean, there's no different for boys. Boys are growing up today with, measuring themselves. Social media, like we talked about before, is a very, very big factor in many people's lives, and comparing ourselves when we don't necessarily have the mental capacity to understand what we're thinking, and to be able to even articulate it properly is dangerous, I think, and the example that it's setting. So when we talked about before, we have this and companies recognize it, and there's marketing, and they're leveraging that somehow. They're leveraging that opportunity, is for me really dangerous for
Yeah,
for us as a
very.
culture.
Very dangerous.
I think you put that beautifully, right? It's the pushing, the constant pervasive pushing of unrealistic beauty standards to vulnerable children on an addictive medium, right? Social media is addictive. We've got these lawsuits
Oh
now
no, we're seeing all over
where,
the place. Meta's being sued, and
yes,
Google's
where,
being
where,
sued, and
uh-huh.
TikTok, and
So, yeah, I mean, I think that what parents have to understand is that the content children are being fed is not real life, like the filters.
I know
Kids will
that's,
use
oh, it just
filters,
bothers
adults
me
will use
so
filters. It
much.
doesn't even look real, to make their appearance look perfect. So that's not authentic, and they're being fed these unrealistic beauty standards very early, and that upward social comparison, obviously, that they're very prone to, is so dangerous. And then we obviously know the addictive nature, so they consume more because of the dopamine
Yeah.
feedback loop that's being activated. And so there's so many really important points that you just made that parents need to be aware of. And I think it's a really good time for, a tween or a teen to talk to their parents about this. And as a parent, you have so much education to give them. You can say, look, why are you asking me for this like really expensive serum? Parents are right to ask themselves, does my child really need this? And they can just get curious with the child and say, where did you see this? Let's look together. Where did you
Yeah.
see this
Yeah.
information? Boom. Then they can go onto social media, onto the Get Ready With Me video where the child saw this product, and they can critically appraise it. You can say, you know what? Let's take this opportunity to go through this video. Let's make this a really big exercise. Oh, wait, I see something that says hashtag partner or hashtag ad. Huh. Do you think that this influencer is being paid to use and
Yeah.
show you this
Yeah.
video? That's really important. So teaching the kids how to critically look at a video, is that person being paid? What are their credentials? What claims are they making here? Do they think there's a filter on this? This is all a really good conversation to have because it gets at so much more than just the product that they're asking for. It's a
Yeah.
good opportunity for a
Sensitizes
conversation
them
between
to be
parents.
critical thinkers in a way,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that though.
Yeah. I think because, we have this tendency to say, don't do that. That's not good. But you have to go into the child's head at that age and that
And
particular,
explain it to them.
and in a way that they can digest
Yeah.
it, not the way an adult digests it.
Yeah.
Is really like discovering with them.
Invite that conversation
And
early.
they will likely realize it on their own, that there's something
Well, they're
that doesn't
smart
make
enough. The
sense.
generation
Kids are
is
smart.
They're
Kids are
smart enough now, especially with technology, to see things much quicker than even my generation or my mom's or anyone's generation. Right, the young kids, like they get it so much
They're
faster.
so digitally savvy, right?
It's
So if you
insane.
start
So
to
like,
point out,
yeah,
yeah,
no, exactly.
how
So
they can recognize an ad or not, and
faster
then
than, yeah,
yeah, and then you can be the mom who says, "You know what? I know you wanted a Sephora gift card or an whatever beauty outlet gift card. Why don't we go together?" And part of the job of you two and this podcast is to help parents understand what to say no to, and we've talked a lot about that, and then what they can enthusiastically say yes to.
Yeah.
yeah,
We can say yes to a gentle cleanser. You want to start a hygiene habit early? That's amazing. Look at you. This is so great that you're taking good care of your skin.
Yeah.
So let's do it.
Mhm.
Let's cleanse, let's moisturize, let's protect. Those are the three things that you can always say yes to. And if that's a splurge for you and you can say, yes, let's splurge on this like slightly more expensive sunscreen because I know that you'll be thrilled to have it and that you're more likely to use it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, you had a routine I think you started at 11.
I had a
'Cause I've
cleanser,
been-
a
yeah.
milky toner,
You loved it.
and a moisturizer. Pure Environment. I had the orange one, and then I had Pure Environment. I only had a cleanser, toner, and I guess I had an SPF
Yeah,
too.
but SPF, yeah, I was very strict about SPF.
Well, I was like a little bit like, nah, I can do
Well,
what I want.
But now,
Most kids
now
are
your
because there's
kids,
so much online. You guys,
Well,
we
also
can
not
talk
only,
about it. The tanning challenges. Like there are now kids that are online showing their tan lines or doing a sunburn challenge or showing themselves in a tanning bed. We thought that culture was dead. It's actually not. It's alive and well on social media and another opportunity to say, hey, if you tan excessively, you will increase your risk for sun damage and especially skin cancer by exponential amounts.
yes, yes. It's fairly important to educate.
yeah. I mean,
So important.
I remember being a kid, like I hated having sunscreen put on me, but at the
But
time,
it was
at
different.
the time, the sunscreen that she was putting on me
It's just the beginning of mineral sunscreens.
was brutal.
They were like white cake. And
It would
you
go
looked
into my
purple.
eyeballs and it
know.
would burn my eyes. No. Like it was not good.
Don't wave
but-
the hand at me.
But now the SPFs, they're amazing, right? Like I wear SPF every single day. The
Well,
SPFs are
it's amazing what they've come up with.
milky, they're
Yeah.
creamy, they're silky. Like
No
you can
foundation looks. They're tinted.
I think the formulations are so much
They're
better and the
wonderful.
tinted ones. And yeah, no, I agree. There's so many out there that are great. And for all the parents listening, that is what you can say yes to unequivocally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I agree with that.
Definitely. I mean, yeah, it's really intense actually. I feel like it's a very vulnerable. I mean, I can doom scroll and I can go on social media, and even as a 31-year-old who like is pretty confident in like what she wants and what she needs and all that stuff, like I can get sometimes off track persuaded by something that I'm like, I think I need this. And then I'm like, wait, but
Yeah,
I
you
really
do. You
don't.
do that. You do that. You do that with like, what was the thing that something to do with fitness? You came in and you said creatine for women.
Creatine for women.
It became a big, huge thing on
Well,
social
it's still,
media
I still think you
because of
should be
Array.
having, yeah, but I think you should still be taking it.
Yeah, I have
That's
to
not the
do my
trend that I
homework
think
more.
that's, yeah, him, please. You do
But
your homework and you're going to
you
come back
jumped
to me.
on it. You jumped on it
Yes.
right away.
You,
Yeah, I mean, guys, the health, wellness, and beauty industry is a multi-billion-dollar
Yeah,
industry, and it's the least regulated
it
industry out
is.
there. People seem to assume that, the way that the pharmaceutical industry is run by the FDA or regulated by the FDA is similar, but it is not at all. It's one of the most unregulated places out there. So you can slap a label on anything with minimal testing, get it on the shelf and be selling it, and yet your products may be harmful.
Yeah.
And the lack of regulation is one of the things I think that's harmful as we talk about this Sephora kids phenomenon and tweens getting into skincare. So, um, that in France there are thousands of ingredients in skincare that are banned
Banned.
by
Yeah.
yeah, by the EU. And in Canada, you guys have a hot list of I think 570
Yeah, we're
something.
pretty strict. There's a lot of products we can't bring in that are
Yep.
American, very popular American brands, and we just can't. There's no way.
The US FDA bans only 11 ingredients here.
Yeah,
really?
well, we just
Like
did a
things like
podcast
mercury and like really bad ones.
we did a podcast this morning with an ex formulator for L'Oreal, Shiseido, and what was the other one?
Pfizer.
Pfizer, who is basically talking about that in not so many words, but basically saying you can come up with anything you want in the United States. You can slap a label on it. You can market it the way you want. You can say what you want, and you can get away with it completely.
I would agree with that because there is not that level of regulation. Now, there was a bill that was signed into law in 2023, late by the Biden administration, and that was called MOCRA, the Modernization of Cosmetic Regulation Act. And that was trying to give a little bit more regulatory oversight into this industry, but it's been slow to roll out. And I think it's not quite widely adopted yet, but it was a good first step.
Hmm.
But it's certainly not enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to get into like an actual issue that a lot of teens have, which is acne, right? Like that's something that has such a, whether you're an adult, whether you're a teen, acne plays such an insane role on your self-confidence. And like, can you like dive in? Like, do you see a lot of patients that struggle with acne?
How do you address it?
How do you address it, especially in today's like holy skincare phenomenon? Like, what's your take on that?
Oh, acne is so common, you guys. Over 90% of everyone in their whole life will get acne of some
Yep.
sort,
Yeah.
right? And
Yep.
there are so many myths about acne. And so in my clinic, a lot of families will show up. What is causing the acne? Is it a food or bad hygiene? Or, these are myths, actually. There aren't too many foods that are really linked to acne. People ask me about chocolate or other things,
Fast
but
foods.
the only yeah, fast foods. The only things that really have been linked to acne are whey protein, so like skim milk, that kind of dairy, and high glycemic index foods, so things that really spike your insulin quickly. Those ones have been linked to worsening acne, but they're certainly not the only cause. Acne is an inflammatory skin disease. We have to remember that. It's not just a cosmetic concern at all, and that's a big pitfall I think that some people will kind of go down that rabbit hole. It needs treatment a lot of the time. So yes, I do see a lot of acne in my clinic, especially when it's getting to the point where it's inflammatory and I'm worried about scarring because any scarring from acne is permanent.
Yeah.
Acne is actually really multifactorial. We still there's still a lot that we don't understand about acne, but there's no one specific cause. If only it were that easy, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, of
actually
course.
a little bit of genetics of how your skin turns over, or if there's a strong family history. It's how your body interacts with microbes on the skin. And then, of course, there's hormonal
Yeah.
effects too that drive acne. And it's typically the male hormones that end up driving acne. So it's really complex and it's multifactorial. But yeah, we treat a lot of acne, and I will tell you one thing, that multi-step expensive skincare regimens like we're seeing on online are really bad for acne because over time, using products like that can actually backfire and lead to worsening flares of acne when you further disrupt your skin
Well,
barrier.
that I think that a lot of teenagers they overdo stuff to try and compensate and get rid of it. They're so desperate before they actually go in for medication and stuff like that. And when you compromise your skin barrier, you just completely exasperate the issue even more, right?
And so that's a great thing because the main point for any acne regimen in a tween or teen is sticking to it and
Yes.
compliance. So you really when you embark on a new treatment, you have to stick with that for 3 months. That's really how long it takes to see that skin turn over fully and really assess response. And that is the difficult part for many teams is waiting that long and being
Being
compliant.
consistent.
But
Yeah.
that's a pearl. Yeah, you got to be consistent. And then one of the entry things that I think is a great entry treatment for acne is available over the counter, and that is a topical retinoid. Shouldn't be used for anti-aging purposes in that way that we just discussed, but it can be really effective for oily skin prone to acne. And the one that's available over the counter is called adapalene. And that is a really great entry level product to address early acne in tweens and teens. And I think it works really well. But again, it's one that you have to stick with and be consistent with. And it's one that can be a little bit drying and irritating. So really that educational piece of just apply a tiny amount, into the full area, like the T zone that's affected. Use a moisturizer if you are getting dry. If it's too irritating, skip a few days and then restart. The pea-sized amount is enough for the whole face. All of those points and kind of really getting into the nitty-gritty of how to apply it is so important because
Yeah. And at
teens will
night
often
only,
apply
usually
too
at
much.
night. Do you
Yes,
agree with at night only for
I
retinol?
do. I agree with that, Nate.
Yeah. And also making sure that your SPF, because when you're using retinols, especially, I mean, should be wearing an SPF every day, but retinol use. No, we treat a lot of acne cases in Canada at our clinic, but also online through retinol. We find it's very,
Yes.
very effective. And, you
Yeah.
can, if you have extreme acne, what we found is also very useful is using retinol combined with benzoyl peroxide. And you mix it together right at the same time, like right before application at night, and apply it only locally to the areas. And it really helps to counteract. But that's when you get into more serious cases of acne. Um, for in terms of patients that come to see you that have acne and they're teens and tweens, are you looking at medication
Oh,
combined
yes.
with at home care?
Yeah. Let's go back and just talk about your benzoyl peroxide
Yeah,
point because I think there's been so much to talk about and controversy with benzoyl peroxide lately. You might be aware of this.
I I'm
Um,
I hope I learned something. I love that.
so benzoyl peroxide has been one of the approved active ingredients for acne for many, many decades. And
Yes.
many of us who used it as teens remember that it is a peroxide. It will bleach things. So don't use your best navy blue towels, etc. But it is a great treatment. And I like to introduce benzoyl peroxide when acne is more inflammatory. So
Yeah.
like the red pustules, pimples,
Yeah.
I would say that I prefer using the benzoyl peroxide in the morning because the
Oh,
over the
okay.
counter vitamin A derivatives like adapalene could theoretically be inactivated by it.
Yeah.
There are, however, as you mentioned, some prescription strength combination treatments that I think have been tested and that are stable together, that are fine
Well,
to use at night, just like you said.
yeah, but the thing that I was told, and because they do, if you mix them together in a bottle, they neutralize each other, so they become both sides ineffective. But there's a brand on the market. We don't have it here in Canada. This particular product, it's from Marini Skin Solutions or Jan Marini Skin Research, which was formerly the name, and it was benzoyl peroxide with a retinol dual chamber application. You take one pump of each and you just push it at the both at the same time, mix it immediately in your hand, and you apply it topically immediately. So it's mixed in the hand by 2 dual chambers, not pre-mixed.
Mm.
And that they have studies have shown that that helps to improve acne on severe acne cases. But what we have done is we tell people buy, your benzoyl peroxide and buy a retinol and mix them on the spot, not like immediately at night. You mix them both together equal amounts and you put it on your acne, and it has helped a lot of people. But I did know that you cannot mix them together prepackaged because they neutralize each other. But I don't know if it's the same thing when you apply it at the same time immediately.
Gosh, that would be something to look into because I don't know if they were tested and formulated to be put on at the same time. Traditionally, most dermatologists will tell you that benzoyl peroxide and topical vitamin A derivatives like tretinoin, et cetera, might inactivate each other.
Yeah.
But as I mentioned, there are those that have been formulated together that are available by prescription. So be interesting. It'd be a great study to look at that and make
Yeah,
sure they're not
look
breaking
at
down.
Marini Skin Solutions. It's a company out of San Jose, California. They deal a lot with acne, and they're in the Medi Spa, like the clinics and stuff like that. And it's called, I can't remember the name of the product, but we couldn't get it. I can't remember, but I just know they had a lot of acne cases with that. But I don't know if it was teen acne specifically. I'm
Well, I'll
assuming it
have to
was.
look at it and we'll see if they've got some good data.
Yeah, check it out.
I'll look at that.
The other
Sure.
thing that what we've done with treating acne is a lot of times because people have tried so hard to clear acne that they cause this, like you said, a huge inflammatory response. So sometimes we'll work with things that are just to absolutely calm everything down, and then we'll go in with the acne. Sometimes just calming the skin down and rebalancing and bringing it back to homeostasis with a very calming cream and calming serums, let's say, for example, will already reduce the acne flare up just by doing that one action. It's amazing because the skin is so inflamed from overconsumption of actives.
Absolutely. Sometimes you have to take it out, less is more, and then restore the skin barrier, reduce the irritation, and then kind of slowly build back up with your active ingredients.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
So
But
interesting.
some people need more,
Yeah. Oh,
and
absolutely.
and I'm a very huge fan of isotretinoin oral. It used to be called Accutane. It is very, very effective for those patients that have failed traditional treatments and have really severe scarring acne. That one is extremely effective when it's prescribed, by an experienced dermatologist or a pediatric dermatologist can be really helpful.
You just said that it used to be called Accutane. Is it not called Accutane anymore?
Well, there are different brands now.
Okay. Okay.
Accutane was owned originally, I think, by a pharmaceutical company. I think it was La Roche actually that owned Accutane, but that brand name Accutane was discontinued. So
Okay.
even though we all still say
It's
Accutane,
like
the
Kleenex
Yeah.
new
or
Right.
yeah,
Botox.
the new isotretinoin are different brands basically, or
Okay.
generic versions of that.
Okay.
Yes.
So
Okay.
basically it's like an antibiotic in a way, right?
No, it's actually it's your tretinoin in a pill. It's a high
Oh,
dose
it is
vitamin A.
actually okay. So,
Mhm.
interesting. I didn't. So, I hear a lot about antibiotics, taking antibiotics for acne. Is that something?
It is something, and it's been going on for many, many years. I would say that using repeated courses of oral antibiotics for acne is sort of falling out of favor. And one of the main reasons is that we don't want to be creating antimicrobial resistance. And
Right.
so long term use of antibiotic monotherapy has been associated with microbial resistance. So we've really stepped away from that. The other thing is that it messes with your gut
Yes.
and it's not a long-term solution,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you can do it temporarily, but if someone is 13 years old and has a lot of acne-prone years ahead of them, that's not something that you're going to want to do for years at a time, nor would it be safe or really helpful. So that's when you're looking at let's optimize our topical therapy. Let's see what else we can do with potential hormonal therapies, especially in girls. We can maybe do something with hormonal treatments. And then the next layer would be if there's scarring severe or you failed other therapies, we would be looking at isotretinoin.
Interesting. Now we see a lot
Mhm.
of patients that are using, uh, formerly known as Accutane.
Accutane, yeah.
Um, But they're not being, at least in Canada, a lot of them that we see in our clinic are not necessarily being followed by a dermatologist in terms of skincare, because really what happens when they get dry, right? The skin gets dry, the
Mhm.
acne clears, but their barrier seems to be super compromised. And we don't find that this is being always addressed. So they come in and their skin is in the shambles because they're on Accutane. They've got redness, sloughing, they're uncomfortable. They've got dermatitis, sometimes even up underneath their eyes around the perioral area. What do you do? What do you recommend for people, teenagers and tweens that are taking these types of oral medication to mitigate that and to make sure that the skin barrier stays healthy?
Yeah, we talk about it right up front, and hopefully the patients who are being prescribed isotretinoin are being followed by, a prescribing doctor, presumably a dermatologist here in Canada too. But we do a lot of education on, retinoid-induced dryness right up front. We talk about being gentle, stop every other active, continue with your gentle cleanser, moisturize, protect, obviously. Vaseline is your best friend or something really, really
Aquaphor,
thick like
something like that.
petroleum
Yeah.
jelly. Yeah, lips up the nose, using eye drops. And one really important thing is to make sure that you're not using a dose that's too high, that's really going to cause a lot of cheilitis or chapped lips, because you certainly don't want any fissuring or splitting of the lip that then could scar on its own just from being too dry. So
Yeah.
we try to stick to a dose that we, know won't cause so many adverse effects, and really educate on the gentle cleansing and moisturizing.
Yeah, that's good because, you know, again, I'm not knocking what's going on in the industry at all because I understand, there's always different situations, but we find that we see a lot of patients that have not been recommended or guided at all with how to take care of their skin when
Yeah.
they're taking this type of medication, and they come in desperation almost. And we were treating somebody recently. She was in her 30s. She had had to go on Accutane for acne, and her skin was an absolute
So was one of our
disaster.
employees at the time, actually, remember?
Yeah,
One of our
really,
employees at the
really,
time
you
was
have to
on,
be followed.
and it basically was like the layer of her skin, like as if like the top layer of her skin had been completely erased, and it was just like this red, like
Crusty.
wet looking. Oh, it was just so
So it
bad.
was painful to look at,
Felt
but
so bad.
no,
Oh.
not using any product. So a product is important, something to reestablish the skin barrier, to nourish it, give it what it needs, is super
Mhm.
important. Okay.
It is. Yeah, that education piece sounds like maybe it could be a bit of a gap, but yes, that's definitely something
So you
that's
always
needed.
recommend
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
we always do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Like, is there an age like restriction on who can use Accutane?
No.
Okay, that's actually interesting.
well,
Mhm.
we've had
Even little babies can get very, very severe scarring infantile acne, and I've had to use Accutane as young as, 2, 3 years old.
Oh wow.
really, eh?
Mhm.
I like love it when my baby gets a little
That's
pimple.
a rare case, obviously. That's not the typical,
Yeah.
but no, there's no age restriction.
Okay, interesting.
Always under
Yeah.
guidance, and obviously like the dose is always according to the age, weight, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Well,
Good
we
to know.
talked to Jan Marini, going back to Jan Marini, and she's talked about a lot of adults, older people, in their into their adulthood, that are taking their microdosing Accutane because it has an effect on rejuvenation and youthfulness of the complexion. So there's a lot of different things going around around all these things. I
I
don't.
have seen that too.
You
Yes, I
have,
have.
eh?
I've seen it too. And of course, Accutane can be a treatment for different skin conditions like rosacea. So if you have a really bad rosacea flare that's very papulopustular and we need to, calm that down, it can be used. If you have a condition where you have proliferation of oil glands around the nose, your nose can actually become thicker and bigger. That's
Oh
called
yes,
rhinophyma,
yeah.
and that is another reason to consider something like Accutane. But yes, um, it's
Multi-purpose.
it's quite effective at reducing sebaceous gland activity and shrinking oil glands. You'll even see on social media people will post about how Accutane made it look like their nose shrunk.
Oh, interesting.
Hmm.
Well,
Interesting.
that's a popular thing. Oh, I'll have to look into that
Yeah,
because I
me
have
too.
not heard that.
That's quite interesting. Like you're probably gonna save on a lot if you get a rhinoplasty, you know?
Well, I've really loved this episode because I think it's debunked a lot of the things. It shed light to a lot of things as well. But I really like your approach on how you handle and tackle these particular situations, because it is a thing. This is going on in our world today, but the way that you are guiding your patients and also parents, which is really, I think, very helpful, to help to people navigate through what they want, what they're actually need for their skin, and making them realize for themselves what they don't need.
Yeah, I feel like it's a new generation of like parents don't know what to do. Like you wouldn't know how to like guide me through social media. I don't know how to guide my children through social media. Like it's hard, right? So like that helping them get through that is I think amazing because it's
Especially
it's
at the
new
critical
in a way.
age. It's a critical, very volatile, influential age. I
Yeah.
mean, we are influential, human beings are, but when you're growing up, it's not easy.
brain's
You
not
have your
developed, yeah.
emotions, you have hormones fluctuating, you're learning everything new. And then you have this pressure by our culture and society and through social media and addiction issues around all that, that you have to prevent aging.
I have a question quickly. I want to know your opinion on I don't know the skincare brand. I don't know we mentioned it before we started recording actually. But Shay Mitchell's skincare brand. I want to know
Oh,
your
the toddler ones.
yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know what the company's called. I forget. It's like not in my
It's
brain
the
right now.
one with the masks and all
Yeah,
that.
I want to know your opinion
Yes, it's
on
called
that.
Rinny. It's
Okay.
called Rinny, and um, my opinion is that 2-year-olds do not need a skincare regimen, let alone a sheet mask. There's so much I think that could be unpacked that I think is really wrong with that message. And so there's really absolutely zero benefit to doing something like that. If there was any kind of benefit, I might be able to kind of give the benefit of the doubt, but there really isn't. There's only potential downsides. What if one of those botanical extracts in the mask irritates your toddler's beautiful, perfect skin? Then you're stuck. You've created a problem.
Yeah.
I have a very strong opinion around those things. But what I thought was most interesting when I saw that is I went into the comments because people were really angry. And then there was the people that were defending. I always do that to see,
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of take a temperature
Yeah.
of how people feel about things. And there's a lot of parents and people on there that were totally for it and thinking it was great for their daughters to be using skincare at 4 years old and stuff like that. So I just,
My initial opinion on it, I think that like in the age of where we're at, I don't think that it's the best thing to do at such a young age. But it reminds me of like when I grew up and I would watch my mom like put on her lipstick and like how you used to watch your mom do skincare
Yeah.
that influenced you into this industry. So I feel like there
It's
is
like
an
a
aspect of like, okay,
self-care.
I get to do this with mommy. I put it like
Yeah.
at least I get to do a safer mask, whatever it is, with my mommy. And because she's doing it too. So it's maybe like there's
A
that
bonding
aspect
moment.
because you do grow up as a young woman and I mean, some women admire their moms for how they applied their makeup, how they do their hair, their nail polish, like all that stuff, which I feel like is kind of the same. But I think that in the age that we're in now, it's a little bit more dangerous for like the mental health aspect. But that was my initial opinion on it. So I don't know how you feel about that.
No,
I mean, I think there's definitely two sides to it. Of course, there's that behavior where the little children and especially the girls want to model mom and
Yeah.
what she's doing. But that can be more like, here's some Vaseline. Why don't you do it with me? You can do it in, I
Yeah,
think,
right.
different
bubble
ways than
baths
than
and
turning your 2-year-old into a consumer. And we have to remember that the age of really self-awareness isn't even until 4 or 5.
yeah.
There really is no
Right.
benefit,
Right.
emotionally or psychologically for doing that before that age,
Right.
etc.
Yeah. That makes sense. No, I like that.
So, Dr. McGinnis, we always end our podcasts with 3 signature questions. It's kind of like a rapid fire. So, we're going to come at you with 3 questions.
Whatever comes to mind, just say it.
Okay.
What is one skincare myth parents should stop believing?
Ooh, okay. For our conversation today, that would be that skincare should be complicated or expensive. It shouldn't be. Skincare should be age appropriate, safe, and fun.
I like
I like
that.
it. Mic drop.
If a parent could do one thing to protect their children's skin, what would that be?
I like this one because I would say it's the early adoption of sun protective behaviors. We talked about it a little bit today, and that's not just limited to applying your sunscreen, but truly understanding with your child and teaching them about what are the risks of chronic UV exposure? How do we develop good sun protective behaviors like wearing a hat and
Yeah.
sunglasses and seeking shade during high UV times? And then, of course, wearing sunscreen and reapplying.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love that.
What is one habit you'd want every teen to start today?
Daily SPF.
So SPF it is.
I love it.
That's
SPF
the
is
winner.
the
It's the
daily.
second
Yeah.
dermatologist we've had on here, and both of you guys have said SPF is the most important.
But even other guests that we have
Yes,
are
but, like,
often,
from the industry, yeah.
often it's like in the skincare industry, that's the thing. Wear
Which I
your
don't
SPF.
understand, like, why there's pushback on it all the time. Like, as we don't, I don't need to wear. I don't like, like it's we communicate it so
To me,
much.
as a dermatologist, it seems so ironic or comical that we have all these people using all these actives and, anti-aging this or that. But if they don't use sunscreen on a daily basis, all of the other stuff is completely useless.
Yeah, wild.
Mic drop.
Mic drop. Thank you so
Thank you.
much for today. We really enjoyed this conversation. I learned a lot,
Me too.
and I really, really enjoyed it. So thank you for taking the time.
Good. Thank you so much for having me and for spreading really, great education for families out there.
Thank you for listening to Skin Talks.
If this episode inspired you, taught you something new, or just made you feel seen, please share with someone you love. And if you believe in thoughtful and empowering conversations that help you make better choices for yourself around your beauty and wellness, please rate and review the show. It helps us to grow our community, and we deeply appreciate it. Because this isn't just about skin.
It's about claiming your beauty, feeling strong, informed, and at home in yourself.
See you next week.